Hey, what's going on YouTube? My name's Matt, and we're back with another Borderlands 3 video, and we will be discussing whether or not I think Borderlands 3 should be an MMO. Now, I'd like to start this video off by saying that there's a bunch of different games out there that I think an MMO could be a really cool idea if executed correctly, and part of that lies with just how cool so many different games' worlds actually are. But I do not think Borderlands 3 should be an MMO, and that's my opinion. We're going to go in depth with some things and discuss reasons why I think that's an issue. But the thing is, I don't want Gearbox to focus on an MMO as their main title. Hear me out. Gearbox doesn't have the greatest track record for games outside of the Borderlands, universe. And with that being said, I'd hate for them to waste their golden goose on something that the fan base seems to have a less than spectacular reception to at best. And that's just being fair. If you read any of the Gearbox forums or Reddit or YouTube comments, it seems like on the topic of an MMO, most of the time, the, reception is polar opposites. You get a handful of people that are like, oh my god, Borderlands MMO, that would be the coolest thing ever. And then you have a slew of people that are like, if Borderlands 3 is an MMO, I won't buy it. But in the interest of discussion, I do think that Borderlands 3 could benefit from some aspects of an MMO. So let's go back in time real quick. Gearbox made Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2. 2K Australia made the pre-sequel, which was the least well-received game in the series. I'm not saying that it was a horrible game, it just didn't stand up to its predecessor, and that's just fact. The Metacritic and the critics suggest it, and the player base also suggests it. So if you like the pre-sequel, that's fine. I liked it for, 50 hours or so, and then I went back to Borderlands 2 because I thought it was a better game. Then Telltale did Tales from the Borderlands, which is a completely different game stylistically and gameplay speaking, and it was wonderfully received. And then, of course, 2K China's attempt at Borderlands Online, an MMO that was shit-canned for being terrible. So, my point in all this is, out of the 5 games announced, 4 of them came out, 3 of them were well-received, and 2 of them were made by Gearbox. So, what I'm trying to get at is Gearbox should focus on what they're good at. So most MMOs have a story that's somewhat of an afterthought, or it's just not that good, and Borderlands isn't suited to that. Borderlands is suited towards solo or co-op gameplay with a cool story and interesting characters. Now, you might not think that Borderlands, the story is great, and that's fine. That's your opinion. I don't think it's the best story ever. I like it. But what I like about Borderlands is the gameplay that we have now and the memorable characters. And Borderlands has a lot of memorable characters. So, if you were going to do an MMO, Borderlands is meant to run around with a small group of vault hunters, loot the shit out of everything, and eventually become super, super strong. And that doesn't work well in an MMO because you're talking about giant raids with, 100 different people. And that's just not what Borderlands is about. So, I also just don't have the time personally to sink into an MMO. They suck out entire portions of parts of your life. And that's totally fair to say. I have friends that went down the black hole in World of Warcraft. My brother, you have to fucking actually pull yourself out of those holes. That's not to say that you didn't enjoy your time when you were playing the MMO, but to say that they're a huge time sink, and a lot of people don't have time for that. So here's what I'm getting at. Borderlands is best suited at what it does best, what we already know it as, and then I'd say that if we had to have a Borderlands MMO, then it should be made by an outside company similar to how, ESO is with Bethesda. That was outsourced and they don't do it, and it's in, the Elder Scrolls universe. But we've seen how the track record goes for outside companies doing things with Gearbox's IP. It just doesn't go well. The only game that was well received was Telltale's, and it's nothing like other Borderlands games. It is a narrative, story-driven experience with QuickTime events. And that's not to shit on the Telltale game. I loved it. I really like those style of games, so I don't see why you would risk putting another red mark on the Borderlands universe. You know, you've had a canceled game, you've had a game that, you know, fans just didn't really like. And, you know, to close off the video, I think the best way to put it is that Borderlands should be Borderlands. A Borderlands MMO isn't going to keep players around that already like the current formula and then bring in MMO fans, and then we're going to have this super fan base. All it's going to do is kill off the interest of one of those fan groups. So you're either going to kill all of the interest of the people that still play the game, that still like Borderlands, or you're going to make an MMO that kills off your fan base, and then some people like, and then maybe if it's really good, some people decide to try it out. But all you're doing is alienating either your current fans, or you're going to enter a market of people that like MMOs and Borderlands, and then you're just not going to have the player base there. So, in my opinion, I don't think it's a good idea. It's certainly not something I want. If they were to go the route of an MMO-inspired game, I would give it a chance, but I could see why people would have an issue with that. If you point at Destiny and go, what about like that? A lot of people don't like the always online thing, and I agree. And I have a great internet connection. It's just in those times where you don't want to be online, you want to play by yourself, it's not there. So if you're feeling Destiny and you want to play offline, well, you're not feeling Destiny. So those are my thoughts on Borderlands 3 being an MMO. Borderlands 3 should be amongst the formula of the Borderlands games that have worked. And then if they wanted to go the route of the MMO, it should be some offshoot with another company, and it shouldn't be the mainline title. That should be reserved for Gearbox. And I think that's what's going to happen. But of course, we don't know that. That's yet to be seen. But I do not think Borderlands 3 should be an MMO. So if you like this video, guys, be sure to let me know what you thought about it, what you disagreed with, what you agreed with, and if you liked it, consider subscribing, leave a like, and I will see you in the next video. Later.